Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell you the truth about silver. Today is Thursday the 24th of June 2021 and we're carrying out our regular morning update on the news, financials and gold and silver prices. But before we do that, just a quick shout out to 4 videos we wish to draw your attention to. Yesterday's Eurozone business growth at 15-year high and what the implications for that are. Hedge Fund that bet against GameStop shuts down, lesson for investors. Why dollar strength and lower gold and silver prices may be a short-term phenomenon. And why gold and silver prices just crashed. Links to each of these are in the description box below. So let's take a look at what is happening today. Welcome everyone, 24th of June. It's now 10:47 a.m. GMT plus 1. Taking a look at the main Bloomberg headlines this morning, which happens to be rather overcast where we are in the UK. Major headline, Credit Suisse's new chairman sends chill through investment bank. This individual actually is from the Lloyds Banking Group, which is where I emanated from in terms of my early bank training. Former Lloyds Bank Chief Executive Antonio Horta Osorio. He's to be Credit Suisse's new chairman, but apparently a man trained to rout out any form of malfeasance. And we shall see if he will put Credit Suisse back on the straight and narrow. Let's wait and see. Anyway, stocks rise with futures as traders malfed data. Markets wrap. Basically, this is saying stocks rose with US futures Thursday, that's today, although part of the market was down yesterday, as traders weighed the outlook for recovery and policy support ahead of a slew of economic reports. European equities rebounded, boosted by travel and banking shares. Banking shares normally go up if they're expecting interest rates to rise, so hopefully not yet. US futures advanced, signalling the S&P 500 index may regain some momentum after a lull. Gauge of Asia Pacific equities was slightly higher. Now, we'll cover this in a second. Yields on 10-year treasuries were steady, as was the dollar, though interestingly, we discovered that 2-year yields actually rose more than the 10-year yields. That's thereby flattening the yield curve, which is not really that positive for gold and silver prices generally when that happens. Equities have come off record levels seen earlier this month after a hawkish Fed meeting injected caution into markets about stimulus tapering, while markets steadied this week. After reassuring remarks from Chair Jerome Powell, investors are paying close attention to economic data and commentary from Fed officials. And as we reported, there is a lot of data out today and tomorrow, and a number of Fed officials are still commenting. Due later Thursday, reports on US durable goods orders, jobless claims and wholesale inventories, as well as the Bank of England's rate decision. Now, we forgot to mention this in any depth. I think we scanned it sort of in a cursory manner, if not yesterday then the day before. Yes, the Bank of England is to announce its interest rate decision. We're not expecting any moves yet, but it's just what guidance it gives. And we have highlighted that it is quite possible that the UK will taper before the United States. That's a speculation based on our slightly rising inflation rate, though it does appear that the US is prepared to tolerate much higher rates than we are likely to. The thing, it says here, to keep in mind is, yes, the rhetoric is saying we might be hiking as soon as 2022, but it's already priced into market expectations. Let's wait and see, shall we? Any other news here? A crypto's ETP's 600% gain leads booming European market. This market is likely to reach 1.5 trillion in the weeks ahead. Merkel urges EU coordination on travel rules as the Delta COVID variant. I think I used the word deviant yesterday twice, and I was actually looking for the word variant rather than deviant. Risks rise. Going to BBC, travel rules to be updated amid industry pressure. And this is hitting all the headlines. Britney Spears in blistering attack on guardianship. Now we know what's important in the news today. Britney Spears. Going to the United States, Biden backs funding more police to fight crime wave. Amid claims his party is soft on crime, the president backs hiring more police beyond pre-pandemic levels. Let's see if he goes ahead with that. Britney Spears again. Multi-story building partially collapses in Miami. At least some people were injured. Kamala Harris to make first trip to Mexico border. A lot of people have asked why she hasn't done this so far. Draw your own conclusions. And I think that's the main BBC news that we can expect. On the economy front, travel industry protests against COVID restrictions. Inflation fears grow as UK factory prices surge, which is why we think the tapering might come off in the UK or might be introduced more rapidly in the UK. But government borrowing eases in May, but it's still the second highest on record for May as COVID spending continues. And Bitcoin tumbles below 30,000 on China crackdown. Well, that's a little bit old because it's come back up. Touching yesterday, I think off the top of my head, close to 35,000, but is now trading at around 33. Retail sales fall. This is a few days old in May as shoppers dine out. So let's have a look then basically at what happened to equity markets yesterday. In the market wrap on Bloomberg, it's saying that the futures are showing positive situation. Yesterday, the Dow Jones fell 71, the S&P down 4, but the Nasdaq rose 18. Still, look at these gains on the year, 33%, 39% and 44%. European markets and UK up today. DAX up 135.88. The Euro Stoxx up 1.09. The FTSE is up 0.33. That, if the Bank of England comes out quite harshly today, that may be affected, depending on what they say. And the CAC is up 71 or 1.09%. Asia Pacific markets, frankly, broadly closed unchanged. Looking at energy, yes, oil up again, tiny amount, 11 cents and 17. So WTI crude 73.19, Brent 75.36, and the dollar index is 91.78, so that's down again slightly, 0.015. So let's get to the heart of our podcast. What's happening with gold? Well, we can see over a 24-hour period, gold is down $3 at $1,780. And we can see the chart over this 24 period rising to 1795. What time was that? Let's have a look. That was yesterday at 15:21. That's UK time. Then collapsing all the way down. Well, I say collapsing. We're not talking about a huge sum of money, but to 1774. And now it's meandering with a slight rise at the moment. Looking at, but if we compare the price to how it closed, remember last week, 1765. So it's still $20 or $17, is that right? 1765, 75.82. Yeah, $17 higher than Friday's close. Looking at silver, similar chart, timing very marginally different, but not a lot. Silver over the last 24 hours. It's now $26. It's up 2 cents. Been as high as $26.31. as low as 25.80. Similar chart pattern, as we can see. So at $26 compared to Friday's close, it's up 19 cents. And we have Bitcoin, and I'll talk a little bit about gold and silver in a second. And Bitcoin over the week is down $5,000, but over the day is up $924. And as I mentioned earlier, it did peak to, not quite, but 34,803. So going back to gold for just a second at 1782, what we're finding is that gold is forming a bear flag pattern, which normally results in lower prices. I've also mentioned that with the 2-year yield, interest rate yield rising more than the 10-year, this flattens the yield curve and is not positive for gold and silver. And the flash PMIs mentioned yesterday, which we'll have a look at, were actually quite positive. And as you can see on the screen, the June manufacturing PMI is 62.6 compared with 62.1 in May. And for June, the services PMI is 64.8, but that is down compared with May. But the manufacturing is higher. We can see new home sales marginally down there, but today we've got the important data, which, as already mentioned, the jobless claims, the durable goods, GDP revision, although we're not expecting huge change there, but then tomorrow the more important information is coming out. So we have for gold at 1782, its support level really is 1757 and then 1730 below that. Resistance is at 1794, which really represents the 100-day moving average. Now, although we cover the technicals, they're not guarantees, let's be quite candid. There are elements of fundamental analysis that also affects this. Technical analysis is primarily based on price, historic and projected. So, whilst we give the technicals, please don't regard them as sacrosanct, but they do give an indication of where analysts are making assessments. So you've got a pretty tight support and resistance level, which just suggests that gold is going to be reasonably range bound. We suggest until at least tomorrow, and then we shall see what happens. The MACD index is suggesting a crossover sell signal, and the MACD histogram is negative, suggesting consolidation. Briefly looking at silver, which has gone up 1 cent at 26.01. Its resistance is at 26.30, and if it can beat that, that will then rise to 26.65. And if we really are in a mini bull phase, then it will head towards the 50 EMA and where the 20 EMA both happen to currently rest, which is at $27. So there could be an attempt, if all things being equal, to see silver attempting to reach that sort of level. However, on the downside, we have support at 25.80, 25.50, 25.30, and then 25. So we're suggesting that we're currently mid-range between where silver could actually fall to, which is 25, or rise to, which is 26. Again, we're not expecting huge moves until some further information is announced. So that's it. We finished. Thank you so much for listening. Please like, share, comment. If you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel. Press the bell sign so you are notified when our videos come out. Just to alert you to a couple of videos we produced in the last 2 or 3 days. We covered, should you buy or invest in gold? That was 3 days ago. Then we had our morning update on Tuesday, investment lesson, game over. The hedge fund that bet against GameStop. But the one that's a little bit disappointing in terms of views was the Eurozone business growth at 15-year high. What are its implications that we published yesterday? And we'll put a link to that below. That's quite a useful one because it is showing that if the Eurozone does strengthen greater than anticipated, then it too may become less dovish, though for the moment, there is no indication of any form of interest rate rise or cutback in their QE or bond buying programs. Thank you once again. Disclaimer. Illuminati silver owners come from a background of banking, international wealth management and economics. Having now retired from these worlds, we are not qualified to give investment advice. Therefore, this and other productions must not be deemed to be giving such advice and merely represent the personal views of its owners.